All right. Hello, everybody. This is the Network Plumbing Working Group meeting for March 29th, 2018. And I will paste the agenda doc into Zoom chat. So there it is. Pretty light agenda today. Also, a lot of people have not called into this one, so we'll probably be pretty short. Let's see, Doug's not around for the spec updates, but as requested the last time, he did update the spec with sections and multiple attachments, as well as the default network part. So if anybody wants to go review those sections and comment, that would be good. I took a look at them and reworded them slightly, but I think Doug did a pretty good job to start with on those. But obviously, if we can tighten up some of the wording, that would be good. The other thing that I noticed was that there is now an inconsistency between the annotation and the network selection annotation and the pod CRD resource name. I don't know if that's a problem or if anybody actually cares, but I just thought I'd bring that up. So if anybody cares about that, speak up. The issue there is that it is, let's see here, the network selection annotation is kubernetes.v1.cni.cncf.io, whereas the CRD definition, let me find it really quick. The CRD definition is kubernetes.cni.cncf.io. So they're similar, but the annotation has the V1 because we wanted to keep it versioned, at least the annotation versioned, but custom resource definitions are versioned by default anyway. So it might just look weird and maybe it'll cause a little confusion, but it's probably fine. Let's see, I see Curl's not around. He might be at the face-to-face. So we can punt that until next time. The last thing on the agenda was the IP request MAC request. And I noticed, Tomo, that you had made a couple of comments in the spec around that. Do you want to expand on those a little bit?
Okay, so regarding the about the IP request side, so currently the IP address is managed by the IPAM CNI plugin, and then some of them is not the cannot set the IP address. So I'm just imagining that we set the IP request plus DHCP or something like that. At that time, it's hard to identify the failure root cause or something like that. So especially the from CNI specification point of view, there is no IP field which will be effective for all IPAM CNI. That there is nothing like that. So I'm just thinking this we should not add IP request field in the this multiple network interface meta plugin, and then this will be done in the IPAM CNI configuration side. Of course, this will be inside the multiple network meta plugin as the part of other stuff. That's the one comment. And then on the other side, the MAC request is so currently the CNI plugin is going to support the meta plugin, which adding the functionality inside the CNI workflow, such as port map or something like that. So we could add changing the IP request as these meta plugin, not inside the this meta plugin. That's my idea.
Yeah, and I think we brought that up in the CNI maintainers meeting and decided that a meta plugin, at least for the MAC address, would probably be a good option. The only issue there is if it's a generic change the MAC address of the interface plugin. We weren't quite sure if there were some problems that would happen if like the IP address was assigned and everything else. If there were problems that would happen after that when the MAC address was changed.
I see. Yeah.
But
So I agree with you about the so some cases, for example, some SDN cases which uses the some open vSwitch or something like that. At that time, the some SDN would like to specify the MAC address as well as attaching the flow. So at that time, we couldn't do that. So they are from yeah, maybe in this case, yeah, it's very hard to identify. Yeah, I agree.
yeah, it is a little tricky. I think it would be worthwhile to probably do it from a meta plugin, or not a meta plugin, but a chain plugin as well. You might just have to not set a specific MAC address for configurations that you know wouldn't be able to work with it. So, I mean, for example, DHCP, the server might identify the client via the MAC address. And so if you run DHCP first and then change the MAC address later, renews may not work properly. But we might just have to say, well, if you want to do this, don't do it for DHCP plugins.
Yeah.
So, and there was also the question of capabilities from last time, and I did bring that up in CNI meeting as well, and there was general agreement that yes, we should add some de facto capabilities for MAC address requests, like there already are for IP addresses, and then specify capability bits for the plugins. So what would happen there would be if you know that your plugin does allow any of these, then it in the configuration, the CNI config, whether that's in the network definition itself or in a file on disk, would set that capability for that plugin. And then the runtime or the meta plugin would know that that plugin supported it and would be able to pass that on instead of erroring out. So that's one way to deal with it.
I see. So once the CNI supports the capability flag to changing the IP request or some MAC request, and then also the add the some formal format to changing the IP request and the MAC request in the unified format. At that time, we should taking this item in the list. But for now, these are not supported yet, and then I'm just thinking about the Kubernetes is tracking the CNI a little bit later. So maybe we should put in the to-do list, not the actual spec for now. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's probably good. We had in CNI meeting, we had talked about adding these to the spec, but then of course it would require plugins to actually be updated to honor them. And yeah, Kubernetes does lag a little bit behind the CNI reference plugins. And so it would be a little bit before it would be able to be used all the way through. But maybe we should keep the sections in the spec and update the CNI stuff. And then, I mean, any of the other plugins could work with them. I don't think it would be too much effort to add the support to the various plugins. Mm-hmm. And as long as the capability bit is there, the runtime would check for the capability in the config. And then if the capability was not present and there was an IP or MAC request, then it would error that network out. So I feel like it would be pretty easy to figure out when an error happened as long as the meta plugin did the right thing with the capabilities.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
It's okay.
All right. Other than that, there wasn't much else in the agenda for this week. I expect that we'll probably have a lot to talk about in 45 minutes if people want to hang around. Otherwise, there'll probably be more stuff in 2 weeks, once more people have had time to look at the spec and come back from the face-to-face. So were there any other bits or agenda items that anybody or anything else people want to bring up? If not, we can make this a pretty short meeting. And we'll see everybody in 45 minutes if you want to stick around for the device plugin stuff, or in 2 weeks. All right. Thanks, everybody. See you later.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Bye.
Oh,
yeah.
So today's meeting is not recorded.
No, today's meeting is recorded. I am recording right now.
Okay.
Then in 45 minutes, there will be the device plugin call, including the people from the face-to-face in California. And I will also record that one as well.
Okay.
So
cool.